I still didn't think of a song to open it.
I just play the same song all the time. Welcome back, guys.
Welcome!
We are here, doing a podcast like we've never done before.
With homemade coffee.
Yeah, I made some coffee in my coffee cup.
And like a shop-made coffee.
Yeah. I'm wearing a hat today because my hair looks awful. I should probably not wear the hat.
I'm pretty sure that baristas should like sponsor us. I'm plugging their ad right now.
Should I?
And we also have chocolate.
We do. We have chocolate.
Because every horse people need chocolate.
Hat off.
Well, hat on looks more official, horse lady.
Oh.
Hat off just is like red. We've all seen red without a hat.
Yeah, I guess everybody's used to red without a hat. It was just wet today, so my hair's like wet.
Guys, we rode in the rain.
We sure did.
We were so productive. We went down and we were like, hey, we're gonna lunch and, we might ride one and lunch one. And then we got there and it was raining. We were like, nope, lunging. And then it stopped raining.
Momentarily.
Yeah, and Red was like, we're riding.
Let's
do it. So we did it.
Yeah, we sure did. We rode.
And then we still stuck to the plan. Come home and do a podcast.
Yeah. So we're here. I thought today might be kind of fun if we talked about like maybe common riding mistakes and how to fix them. I thought that might be a good title. What do you think?
Yeah?
Yeah?
That. And just terminology, like things like, remember, I was saying all the cool things you're teaching me about how to teach, like with the weight and the stirrups and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
The analogies.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
So for everyone that can't see what we're doing, we're eating chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
So if our mouths, or we sound a bit like funny.
A mukbang. Mukbang?
It's peanut brittle.
Chocolate.
Pretty good.
Very
They
good.
should sponsor us too, Daryl Lee.
Yeah.
Just
I've
saying.
got a couple new ribbons on my ribbon rack as well. I'm very proud of.
Tell us what they are.
I did the Borneo Park official dressage day, and it was a 2-day event. And we did 4 dressage tests, and I got 2 fourths and a third, and a pair of socks. Got a prize. Love prizes. But it was a hard weekend for me because the first test I had to retire, as I'm sure you guys have heard on this podcast, that happens to me a lot.
I love your hair like that, by the way.
Oh, thanks, girl. I just put it up. I took it out of the hat. And
Well, you didn't retire. Did you remember your salute at the start?
yeah, I saluted.
Wow.
All of my salutes at the start and the completion.
Yeah, was this the one where you were like, woo! At the end?
Well, I think that was
Pony cuddles!
third. I think that was when I
There
got
was a
third.
video of her when she finished her test and she was so into the moment with her and her pony, just like so happy about how good he went through his test that at the end, like both arms just went up like starfish and then came back down and like hugged him. It was the best moment. Didn't
Yeah.
the lady see it? And she was like, oh, you're the lady on the pony with the pony.
Yeah, so I was walking my pony back to the stable, and I was just walking him in hand, and a lady stops, and she goes, "Oh, are you the girl with the pony?" And I said, "Yes, I am the girl with the pony."
Because she was the only pony there. She was competing against like
Yeah.
warm bloods at Borneo.
Yeah, there was 3 I think in total at
Right.
the competition. Yeah, and so I said, yeah, I'm the lady with the pony, and I gave him a hug because it was just after one of our tests, and then the woman goes, "Oh, I was penciling," which means she was writing down what the judge was saying to her while the judge is watching the test. She's writing it down on the paper. I was penciling for the test next to you, so not even my test. And we thought you had fallen off because you had shouted. And then we looked over, and it was just the fact that you were laying on your horse so excited about how well you did in your test. And I wanted to say it was lovely seeing someone appreciate their horse. And that really made me think about, how a lot of us come in there and we're just really hard on ourselves and we're hard on our horses, and they have no idea why they're there. Like, they don't know why. Why did I go to this strange location? Why is this all of a sudden more important? Why?
Yeah. Why has she got an attitude today?
Why is she kicking me so hard? What is happening?
What in my head? Like, I know the pressure. Like, you get on and you just want everything to be perfect. And you do, like, I do it all the time. Even just in front of people, you do it. Like, you're so much harder on your horse. And doing that, you get a worse response. Like,
Absolutely.
you don't get a better response at all.
No.
You don't get the quick fixes. Your horse just goes, why am I in trouble already?
What happened? Yeah, and so that, it was really lovely to hear somebody else kind of appreciate my ridiculousness as much as I appreciate my ridiculousness. And it was funny because Tim saw me and said, "Oh, why did that lady stop you? Did you forget something?" No, I didn't forget anything. It was just some lady wanted to say.
Was he calling? Tim?
No, he was holding a horse and recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multitasking.
Yeah, he was holding a horse that he didn't know, actually. It was Kate's
Wow.
horse. But Kate's horse came as a buddy because I was the last on the draw. So there was no other horses around. My horse was getting lonely and sad and cracking the sads. Well, I'm just going to plug this in. And then... Yeah, and then we're going to talk about some terminology. Ooh, this is dangerous. Terminology we use when we're riding. Things that... I think we're going to probably go over some things that I don't believe are true. Or people say them a lot and I don't find them useful. And then things that I find useful, and then some things that Jess has found useful, and everybody lives a different experience. And being a coach really gets you thinking about what kind of problems people have.
Especially for me, it's a new world teaching beginners, like beginners, and children.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to ask a lot of questions or just observe, and you've helped me heaps with, like, just every now and then throwing me something. Oh, have you ever heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
And I use it. Okay, what if I was to start with something like you see all the time? Like, let's just go through something that we all know. Okay, like, you know how generally riders, inexperienced riders, they'll sit with their legs way far forward, like armchair position.
Yeah.
Legs back.
Yeah.
What's the terminology? If legs back isn't working, bend your knees isn't working.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
you gave
so-
me one the other day, kneeling.
Yeah. In the rise and trot, think that you're kneeling rather than standing in your stirrups. Because when you stand in your stirrups, you end up kind of lifting your body up and then falling backwards. But if the lower leg stays underneath your seat, and then you think of it as your knee, your thigh picking you up, like as if you were kneeling on the ground and rising yourself up from the kneeling position and then sitting back down on your heels. So you can try it at home. Jess was saying to me that she tried it in the dirt.
I literally, in front of a student, I kneeled down, I was trying to explain it, I was like, this is kind of similar. When I was trying to explain it to the student,
Yeah.
it was kind of the same as me explaining what I'd already tried to explain, and that hadn't worked.
Mhm.
So I'd gone to the kneeling. And so in order for me to explain the kneeling, me just talking, it wasn't going to do anything. So I actually got down on my knees, and I showed, and they went, huh.
Yeah. And that's a really important part that the EA kind of teaches you about is there's a section in your lesson plan that says demonstration, and you always have to be able to do a demonstration. Whether it's a physical demonstration, like kneeling on the ground, or a prop demonstration, like me getting on a client's horse, or a drawing, me drawing it on a little whiteboard or something and saying, this is the exercise that we're going to do. The demonstration is a huge portion of being able to effectively communicate to anyone. One thing, when the legs are too far out in front of people, one thing I like to do is get them to lay down and hug their horse,
Mm-hmm.
and then maintain the leg position as they sit back up. and that helps keep the legs underneath them as the leg scoots
What
forward.
if walk isn't the issue? What if it's only happening in rising trot?
Yeah, then the kneeling. Oftentimes, too, the stirrups could be too long, depending on the situation. A armchair position or a what's that? There's another name for it. I always want to call it knife, but it's not knife.
Fork?
No. The forked position is when their legs are too far back.
Oh!
That's why I want to call it knife.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Okay, because
Yeah.
that came up the other day as well. That was going to be number 2.
Yeah,
But
forked
that
position
very
is-
rarely in my brief experience in this world, that has come up only twice.
See, you
Legs
always
too
end
far
up with
forward.
you
I
always-
mean, back.
Yeah, you always end up with like chair seat
Mhm.
people, and I always end up with forked people. Because
Yeah.
I'm forked and you're chair seat.
Yeah,
Isn't it weird?
that's weird.
Yeah, so a forked position is when the legs, the ankles, let's say, if I'm looking at a profile, the ankles are too far behind the rider, the hips are too far forward, and the shoulders are too far forward. So they end up in this like tilted, fetal looking type position. And one way that I like to
And
change.
toes down.
Yeah, toes pointing down.
Toes down.
I am dying
And you have got no balance in that position. Whereas at least with the armchair, you got, you're sitting back.
You have balance, but your horse has no balance in the armchair one. Because then you end up sitting on their little kidneys. Hey, hey, hey.
Mango, no.
Honey, no. I'm going to close that in a minute, or I'm going to put you... Oh my god. It's because it's that time of day when people are coming home from work. Are you going into the bedroom? Is this what's happening? Yep. Always. Always something. Yes, so the forked... Oh my god, how did she get in?
Through the other side.
What a little buff.
Mango, sit.
Maybe
Sit.
we can just work through it.
Stay. Stay.
Okay.
Yeah, the forked.
The forked. That one is okay, we're all going to sit on our horses. Now we're going to take our feet out of the stirrups, dangle our legs long, bring our knees up in front of our saddle, but our feet still underneath us. Open our legs like a butterfly, and then drop our legs straight down. Finding your stirrups, making sure that you found both of your seat bones. So then talk to them a little bit about their seat bones, what their seat bones feel like. And then before they put their feet back in their stirrups, they have to find the stirrup and put their foot in the stirrup without pushing themselves out of the seat bone.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have to push themselves out of the seat bone, then the stirrup's too short. That can also cause the forked seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then making them really focus on the seat bones themselves rather than the stirrups, because
Yeah.
a stirrup focus can cause the forked seat. Which kind of drives us to the next kind of fun one that I talked to you about the other day. I'll let you introduce that one because it wasn't mine to begin with. I stole that one from Mary Wanless, who, if you haven't read any of her books, do so. They are excellent riding books.
How did we, before we discussed this great tactic, what was the question that led you to tell me that it might be too much weight in the stirrup?
Rising, standing up, and falling back in the saddle.
Right, okay, so I think I'd come to Red and I'd said, look, I'm struggling. I've got some students that are rising and then falling too heavy or falling more of an angle, like far back, instead of being able to control their rising on the way up and the way down. And I tried a couple of different things and it wasn't working. And she'd said to me, oh, it could be that they're relying on their stirrups and putting too much weight in their stirrups rather than their upper thigh muscles to maintain that, rise and fall. And I said, okay. And then she said, try this exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And that was to explain or show, put your hand underneath their feet in the stirrups and go through and tell them that you should be able to walk around or trot around with your hand in the stirrup with their foot on top and them not hurt you.
Yeah.
That was generally the consensus.
I usually shout, would I be screaming? And that one reminds them. that they, but I physically have put my hand under quite a few clients' feet, actually. I bet some of them are probably watching this one. But
I've been doing it since you told me. I've been doing it,
Really?
but I can't really do it at a trot.
no,
Unless
you
I'm
can't.
running next to them.
No. But they still get that sensation, and they still get that understanding that the stirrups are there for decoration and you need to work harder.
I was thinking in a couple of my lessons, just doing that exercise of getting them to rise to the trot without the stirrups. You know,
Yeah.
for the ones that I know are balanced enough to start.
I pop them on the
Figuring
lunge
that.
usually for that.
Yeah.
And then once they get the grasp of that, then it makes it much easier for you to introduce the sitting trot. You know?
Do you do that before sitting?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Because they
I
have
always work on sitting before rising.
I work on sitting before rising if they're in a chair seat,
Mm-hmm.
and or if they're in a forked seat, if their legs are too far behind them, then I work on the sitting, because the sitting will allow them to let their legs out in front. But if they're chair, then it's just going to provoke them to end up further back. So then I do the rising first, and then sometimes if they start to lose their balance, I'll let them sit 3, 4, 7 times, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't teach them how to sit until they understand how to carry themselves on their thighs.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, I feel that they end up carrying themselves on the back, like the fatty parts of their bum, kind of. But, you know, it really is kind of an organic personal experience of what you should be learning first and what you should be learning next.
A lot of the time, I feel like I go down one alley with a rider,
Yeah.
and I'm trying it, and I'm pursuing that very, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I've just got to hang on, and
Yeah.
and it'll take a little bit of time, and then I realize, okay, this isn't working, I'm going to change it up,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think of something else, because sometimes, you know, it could just take a little moment, you know, you got to give them a little bit of time to feel it and figure it out, so it's
Yeah.
that, but then halfway through, you're like, okay, this really isn't working, got
I'll
to
try
try
something
something else. And sometimes my tool belt just isn't big enough yet. So
Yeah.
that's why it's so helpful to get these analogies.
I think one of the most difficult things to teach people is feel, like elastic feel in your reins.
Yeah.
No phones on the
It's important.
podcast. Is it important?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I will allow it this time.
I have to let someone know someone's going to be knocking at their door in 20 minutes.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, so feel. I think teaching people an elastic feel from shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers, all of that is probably one of the biggest challenges for children and beginners. Because beginner adults have an idea of what they believe it should feel like, and usually it's far too rigid or far too delicate.
Yeah, I've never had someone that's too rigid.
Interesting.
Never. Always, like, I always come up and I'm like, okay, and I grab the reins and I'm like, okay, show me when I say I want you to pick up that outside rein or even hold the contact.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Or even turning. Show me what you're doing. Show me your half hold. Show me this, show me that. And I can, like, very, very rarely can I even feel what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It is so subtle,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think,
It's probably better than too much.
yeah, because you can always teach. And then when I show them, okay, no, you should feel about this is how it should feel.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Mhm. And it's
This is
interesting.
your pressure and this is your release. And when
Yeah.
I release, it's a big, I don't care if your hand's down here.
Yeah.
Big release for training, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Big release. Like, oh.
Sometimes, I think partially due to my own riding and my own training, my release is too quick. Like it just goes bang, and it drops them on their face. But if I slow soften and they go, ooh.
It depends on, like, if you're training a green horse, that works because they need that instant, like, pressure.
Yeah,
Okay,
but they
give
should.
instant.
But they should follow that connection still. Green horses should follow connection in 2 reins. Yeah, tough call. Going down the rabbit hole on this one. So there are lots and lots of tactics to teach elasticity. One tactic that
You're just talking about hands?
just talking about hands right
Uh-huh.
now. Because if we start talking about training horses, this is going to
Yeah.
go real south.
Yeah. So just hands,
Hands.
elasticity. Okay.
I just want to teach somebody what a feel is supposed to be like.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I really want to do that I've seen done, actually, Leonie Bramwell, a very famous Canadian dressage, lives in Germany, comes to Australia in Melbourne and teaches fairly frequently. Leonie does a lot of things with resistance bands.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saw her do a...
Is there just elastic reins you can buy?
Yes, but I don't think that's going to teach the horse or the human the correct feel. The resistance band, she makes you hold your own rein and then put the resistance band around where the neck strap would be, around the horse's chest. So when you take tension in both the resistance band and the rein, and then you soften. But when you soften, you can't go because then the resistance band is going to fling back at you. So it teaches you how to soften correctly.
All right.
Because you take and you have to slowly soften, they should follow the connection down.
Right.
Rather than flinging the elastic band back at them. So I thought that was really, really cool. And a nice way to teach people, take a connection, have a feel. Otherwise, that resistance band is going to be flopping all over the place. You know, and you don't want floppy stuff everywhere. So I think that that's a really neat idea. And I've seen people do it in a different way where they actually take the reins, flip them back over the horse's head, and then hand the reins back to the riders so that the base of the reins is around their neck and the other set, so it's got more feel in it as well.
Some of my riders drop their reins quite frequently, so that may be dangerous.
Yeah, no, don't do it then. It also looks like when I saw it happen, who did that? David Shoebridge. I watched David do that. No mango. It's just play with the ball on the ground. We don't need it. Yeah, I saw David Shoebridge do it, and I was like, oh my god, how scary would that be to just
I think I've done that
accidentally-
before when I was a lot younger.
accidentally drop one rein, and
Yeah.
you're just like, whoa, where's my... And then you can't get it back.
Yeah,
Because
you'd
it's
have to
only-
get it just from the other side. Like, you'd have to pull the other side all the way up to grab it and then go around the other side.
How, though?
Like, you would grab it just to get it off the ground, you'd have to, like, hold this hand up really high
Yeah.
and then reach under the neck to be able to grab it back to where it was before.
Oh yeah, no, that just makes me sick just thinking about that. Yeah, so resistance band would be a nice way to go about that one. And also the way that you explained it, have someone really that you really admire, respect, your coach, a comrade, anybody, take the other end of your reins and hold your reins as if you were just the horse and have them react to you. And so you can,
I find that really effective because people, not until I do that, they're like, oh, okay, and then everything kind of clicks. They know that feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Another couple of things. It's nice because my clients oftentimes will get lessons with other people. They'll go to Pony Club or whatever, and oftentimes they get lessons from people that I admire. Danielle Pools is someone that I admire as a coach, and I've shared a lot of her stuff on the Facebook page and stuff. And one of my students had a lesson at her Pony Club with Danielle Pools, and I said, "Oh, tell me what she taught you, and tell me, blah blah blah." And she goes, "She said when I get stiff in my shoulders, I should chicken." And I was like, "Okay."
I have to yell out no flappy flaps all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Sometimes my students get a little rigid.
Uh.
You got chicken. No, you do chicken. She softens her shoulders, and it gives her the,
Yeah.
and then she's able to relax again.
It's so bizarre. You and I have opposites. Like, I'm constantly yelling at people, tuck your elbows in, get them in there, because they're always like out, and they're always like, and their bodies are moving too much. They're too loose. So I was like, get those elbows in, stick them in your ribs. Like, I'm always yelling at people, like, bend your elbows, because they're either straight out and straight armed, or they're out and floppy.
The
So, like,
straight ones. That's where this
Yeah.
this little girl started very straight.
yeah.
And then she brought her elbows in, but only because I brought 2 $5 notes.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about the whip?
Width
Some-
behind is too rigid, I think.
But if it's an over dramatization,
2 $5 notes work for me. Perfect. Goodwill. They're like very, very, very good.
yeah,
Pop them underneath her armpits and said, keep them there.
armpits.
Yeah. If you can keep those $5 notes there, walk, trot, and Ganta, go over a couple of jumps.
So
Keep them-
you don't think you could with? What if they were low straight? You could.
They're still going to do something right with their shoulders if they're low straight.
Yeah, you're right.
You're
Right. Yeah.
2 $5 notes under there. You want them to close the back of their armpit anyways, not the front.
Yeah.
Who's
at the front door?
Oh, the glories of technical difficulties continuously.
You were talking about $5 notes in the armpits, and that's great. And just while we were like fixing the stuff,
Yeah.
I thought about something else that you gave me,
Okay, yeah, tell me.
and it was amazing because I used it like 4 times the other day.
Woo!
I know, and it worked great. Because
Yeah.
I've been using the other one that was given to me, and your one kind of worked better.
Whoa.
And it was the fancy belt buckle.
I know the flashy belt buckle, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Pretend you have a cool belt buckle on. Show
Yeah.
the
I
world.
was like, show me the blingage. And she laughed the whole way, and she was so proud of that belt buckle.
I know.
She was like, yeah,
Yeah,
it
and-
really worked.
Yeah, because you have like an image in your mind of what you're trying
Yeah.
to display. And
Because normally it was belly, like for me, it was belly button to ears. But the belt buckle, for some reason, just seemed to work so much more.
Mhm. And it's interesting because for me personally, as you've seen me ride lots, I end up too far shoulders in front of hips. And when someone says to me, show me your flashy belt buckle, doesn't do a thing for me. But Jessie will
Is that
say,
because you don't care? You're like, I don't care about my belt buckle.
No.
I am doing this for a
just
reason. No.
mechanically just doesn't function for me. But Jessie says to me, put your shoulders behind your hips. And my shoulders will go behind my hips.
Because you think very anatomically.
Yeah, and also, for me, my problem isn't that my hips aren't coming forward enough. It's that my shoulders are coming with my hips.
Mm.
So it really
That's,
depends.
yeah, that's right. When you ride with your top half, like you're all connected, and you're what's the word? Isolating the right, like your bottom half is isolated to your top half.
Yeah.
So you are still coming forward, but your shoulders are
My-
your whole
my shoulders
body
just
comes
ta-da-da!
forward at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
That's right. Yeah.
Jessie will just correct me that my hips need to be behind my shoulders, and then I'll go, okay, and then I'm able to continue that. And I have to do it every once in a while. Check myself. And oftentimes I will swing my seat up and right,
Mhm.
and so I have to constantly think, seat to the left, because I will pick myself up.
Oh,
and
the
go
other
to
one
the
that I
right.
haven't used that just reminded me of, because you were talking about hips, was, cause as you were talking, as I always do, because information goes in one ear and out the other,
Love it.
and I'm looking at you, and you know I'm listening, and I'm totally in it, but I'm also somewhere else at the same time.
Aren't we all?
And that's
Continue.
half the reason why I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, I was going to ask you, like, what's a PG rated version of the Hump the Saddle for the sitting trot? Or even in the canter, and I've been using it a lot, and it's so effective with my adult riders. Hump the Saddle seems to work the best. Like, people
Yeah.
just understand that, and they really get into it, and it works.
Mhm.
But what's another term that you can use for that? And it just reminded me when you were talking about left, right,
Mhm.
your hips. So left, right, hips, like swinging your hips left, right, like as they come forward, tilt them left, right. And that's something I've never used. I've always thought about it just
Jump,
as
jump,
the
jump,
one
jump.
motion. I say push.
Yeah.
So it's push, push, push.
Mhm.
But I've never thought about, and it is, you do actually slightly move left, right, but I just hadn't thought about that. So what
Mine-
else do you say?
My biggest struggle in the sitting trot is that if I sat and pushed, my coccyx would end up way too far underneath me, and then I would curl this way,
Mm-hmm.
and then my legs would end up in front of me. So I would turn into like a C.
A what?
A C. The letter C.
Oh, the letter C. I was like, what is it?
Like a C. So my shoulders would come too far forward, my back would be too round, my tailbone would be too far underneath me, and my legs would be out my chair seat in front.
Right.
which would be counter, like you'd see me transform from this like little overly upright to this like awkward chair rodeo yeehaw.
For pushing.
Yes, if I
You look like you're having a baby. By the way.
Exactly.
So everyone anyone that is not watching YouTube, she's sitting here
looking
like she's in what position do they call that? That should have a name.
the chair seat is what we call.
No, the one where you're up in the apparatus, you got one leg here, one leg there, and then they push.
Oh, like like labor.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's what you look
All right.
like right now.
Okay, cool. So I go like either all the way into Western and just look
Yeah.
like I'm riding Western, or or I'm not connected enough to my saddle.
I can't imagine you riding Western, like the whole like relaxed, like because you're very straight backed, well postured.
Yeah.
When you're in the saddle, so like trying to imagine you in that chilled out, one hand just chilled, like like this. No, can't see it.
I'll see if I can find a picture for you one day.
But you won't do it justice. I have to see it.
Happen.
Yeah.
Oh, one time Ray put me in a stock saddle and I had to do a couple of circles and stuff on a horse on Sarge, and it just came, as soon as I was sitting in that stock saddle and
Really?
I knew that something naughty might happen. I was like,
I hate stock saddles.
me too. Neither here nor there. I think when I was learning how to correctly sit the trot, thanks Jessie Fleming. And actually Lily was the one who fed me the left right.
Okay.
Lily said, I was like, I'm having trouble with the sitting trot, Lily, like what can you, she was like, think left, right. And I was like, okay. And then I was like,
That's
because-
still quite you need to be quite bodily aware. Like you need to be aware of your body like movement to get that, because it is quite a subtle left right.
Oh yeah.
So what about like, because I only have kind of like intermediates and very much beginners.
Babies, yeah.
Or English very second language. So
Yeah.
even the intermediates with that, I'm still scraping the barrel.
Yeah.
So what's another thing? Do you have something like the belt buckle that would like something that's playful for a sitting trot?
For a sitting trot, I would, like for my young ones,
Yeah.
I do a lot of taking stirrups away, taking saddles away, putting them on lunges, making them go without a saddle, having them slide off a couple of times, like just, little ponies, so it's not a big deal. And also I get to incorporate our like learning how to fall business into that. But when they're sitting, finding the seat bones and connecting the tailbone, really helpful. Also for the people who end up in that kind of forked position, they get a little tight and then they start falling forward. Pretend you're at the rodeo. Take one hand and put it up behind you. Take one hand, put it on the back of your saddle. And then finding the back of your saddle and being able to move with the back of your saddle in the sitting trot. Again, obviously something that you should do on a lunge, because then now they only have one hand. But those different kind of characteristics of them being able to put their hands on body parts and feel what they're supposed to be doing, I found that really effective in the sitting trot. Rising for 3, sitting for 2. Rising for 5, sitting for 2.
I had someone the other day giving a lunge lesson. Well, it wasn't their first canter, but they were still on the lunge. And I heard them saying, and it was the first time that I'd heard someone say, okay, now count. And they were getting them to count in the canter. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was trying to understand why. Like, I understand the rising. Like, I use counting 1, 2, 1, 2 so that they learn the rhythm and the rising. But what is with and it was for the scoop, so they learned how to sit. And I was trying to understand where that came from.
Every single one of my students counts strides in the walk, trot, and canter. Specifically because I want them to know where the outside shoulder is at all times. You should ask for all of your transitions when the outside front leg is about to strike off. Unless you're doing a walk to canter, then it should be the inside.
They weren't counting because they'd taught anything about
Body mechanics.
No.
Well, they should be taught about body mechanics, and that's why they should count. But if you're counting with a rhythm, even subconsciously,
it was just for the rhythm.
yeah, even subconsciously, you're learning the body mechanics of the animal because you're figuring out what an entire stride is. 1, 2, and then if I want a horse to slow down, I go. You've heard me say it a million times. 3, 2, 1, and walking. You know, that counting can also help them breathe.
Yeah.
Especially in the canter, people tend to tighten and hold their breath. And if they have to verbalize things, it helps them breathe. And you've seen me do it with clients that tend to get too rigid and don't breathe. We talk about breathing, we make them breathe, we count with strides, whatever you need to do to maintain a type of breathing.
Yeah. I
Also-
got them singing the alphabet, I got one girl that's normally really quiet, and I told her that she had to hold a note while sitting trot as loud as possible. And she didn't want to be yodeling like country girl, so she was really trying to stay still and hold her diaphragm because she wasn't using it. And so that made her use her core because she had to engage it in order to keep it still.
Yeah.
And so that really worked.
And that was a nice thing in the, that's an excellent suggestion. In the book that I'm reading, the Mary Wanless book that I'm reading right now, Ride With Your Mind, she talks about breathing and how important it is when you're riding. And I take that for granted so hard. Like, way more than anybody else because I grew up singing. So I can ride and shout across the arena. I can ride, I could canter, I can do this, that, and I could talk on the phone. You know, you've talked on the phone with me not knowing I'm on a horse. Plenty of times. And then me go, oh, I'm cantering, and then I'll start cantering. You're like, Jesus, that's fast. and the thing about it is,
often I only figure out you're on a horse because I hear you go 1, 2, 3.
yeah, 3, 2, 1, and walking.
You do it with your canter transition before you canter. You count into it.
Into it, absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard you do that. You go 1, 2, 3, canter. Red, are you on a horse?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was just, doing this, whatever. But, lots of people can't because you should, what Mary Wanless calls, bear down while you're riding. You do it naturally, I do it naturally. A lot of other...
What is bear down?
The front and the back and the bottom of your torso should be...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell my kids, show me a 6-pack. Or I've actually gone up to them the other day, I did it, and you know how when you're in a singing lesson, and they say, show me a diaphragm, and you have to do the exercise where you're pushing their finger out with your diaphragm, and I did that, and because I was like, show me a 6-pack, and she kept going like this, and just like arching, and I was like, no, like engaging this, so I had to actually do it, and I'm like, now push against my fingers, push my fingers out, and then once she realized where a diaphragm was in that muscle, I was like, that's the same area, you know, like, if I can get her to engage that, she's still got to push and engage everything here. So it's like one step.
Yeah, and then you've got to teach them the back, and then you've got to teach them the bottom, the floor.
How?
So what she was talking about in the book was thinking about breathing, like you're breathing into a jar, like a chemist's, that's got a neck, and then it opens at the bottom.
Yeah.
And you need to breathe into the bottom and out of the bottom, like you and I would do naturally. But don't fill up too much at the top. Like if I was to breathe up the top, rather than breathing with the top, which actually feels really awkward to me. Do you ever do that? You're like, it's like weird up there. But filling up in the bottom and releasing at the bottom and filling up at the bottom and then from there learning how to maintain the wall while I literally have been holding my feet with my heels down the whole time because I'm bearing down into my chair. And then she also talks about what it feels like when you're like pressing out, like when you're pooping.
Pressing out.
push. You know, like just pushing the base of your diaphragm, like the bottom a
Just
little
imagine a whole lot of farts. Like,
bit. Yeah, but I don't
it was
feel
subtle.
like I don't feel like I'm farting when I'm bearing down. Sometimes I do fart when I'm riding, though. I scared my horse once. But, you know, like, it is what it is.
Get down.
And like buried down, but then bearing down at the back, you've got to be able to push your belly button back and then bear down at the front as well. So you got to like push it back, and now you've got the back set up. Now you got to push out the front again. You have a funny shaped spine at the bottom, so
Yeah, I do.
so that's different for you to support your spine back
I
here.
got scoliosis. So
Yeah, so you don't have to support your spine back there because it's like jamming. It's having a great time.
No, it's not.
And so like I have to. So
What do you mean? So because mine goes out and yours goes in.
Yeah, so because mine naturally will want to.
Yeah, you got
Arch.
booty. Girls got booty out the back there.
Yeah, so I'll naturally want to arch it this way. So I have to support my spine by pushing my belly button back.
Yeah.
And then I have to push out at the front to bear down at the front and back at the same time. And then down the floor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do I have to do?
You just have to bear down on your floor. Your pelvic floor a little bit more. No, don't push down. Bear down on it.
I don't know what I'm engaging. What muscles am I?
Hold on. Another brief intermission. We're back.
Yeah, we were talking about the floor, and what was I isolating?
Your gooch.
Yeah, but I can do that and nothing changes in my body,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So why were you explaining the need to engage all this?
This, and then the base.
Yeah.
But you do that when you're riding anyways.
Do I?
Yep.
Because whenever I look at videos, I'm always like hunched over a bit and leaning forward, like.
When you half halt, you bear down in the base of your half halt.
Right?
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, I'm being lazy.
Yeah, but you know that you're being lazy.
I don't until someone tells me or I watch a video.
Oh, okay.
So it's naturally like those last ones I saw of me in the jump saddle, especially when I'm in the jump saddle.
The jump saddle is...
I'm out the back, my legs are even more forward, and I'm rising forward and back, and my shoulders are hunched.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm conscious, I can sit up.
So the shoulders back. Oh, girl,
Yes.
that's a good one.
Shoulders
So-
back. Because a lot of the time you say shoulders back and you get boobs out.
And rigid.
Boobs out is a huge thing.
This is not what it's supposed to look.
Boobs out and the bum goes out. Like,
And then you lose
yeah.
all of the core that needed to happen. So, physiotherapist, thank you, Katrina. If she
What is name dropping?
name dropping all of
We should be plugging. We should be like, so would you like us to mention your name? If so, it's a $5 fee.
No. Yeah, we only mention people that we really love on this
But
channel.
if we ever had like a great service, we could just totally talk about that for a whole. Just say it.
I have great service from just careful of this tug of war situation.
Playing tug of war with the mango. So you might hear that in the background.
So she told me, I wish I had my sports bra on right now because I would just show you. I'd just take my shirt off. But she was saying to me, because my shoulder blades get too rigid, and then because they're rigid, people always say put your shoulders back, but it's not really my shoulders that are the problem. It's like here.
Yeah.
She was saying, pick up your shoulder blade and put it in the pocket. So it's actually not, it's not the tops of my shoulders. It's not actually up here. It's the actual blade itself.
Yeah.
I have to pop back.
But again, that's a very anatomical way of explaining something.
Absolutely.
That's not going to work with someone like that is a little bit stressed out and can't think about things like that. So what's another one?
The pulling on your ponytail, Sam
Yeah.
Bartlett. That's one I got from her.
I've tried that a couple of times and it's only ever worked once.
Yeah, it depends on
For
if.
some reason, and it seems like such a clear thing, but for some reason, it's not clicking like a lot of the time. Could be my delivery. I don't know, but
And sometimes if they're older, I'll say, have you guys ever done yoga? And they'll be like, no, or yes, whatever. Doesn't really matter what their answer is. I go, I've been trying yoga and I'm not very good at it, but I think there's this thing and I don't know, it's Shavasana. And I like really deliver it ridiculously because people love it when I'm just ridiculous. And
Shavasana. Is that legit the name?
Shavasana?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it means like, I think that's corpse pose or celebration of the sun or something, but whatever. It's my
corpse pose or celebration of the sun.
Whatever. It's
either dead or celebrating the sun.
One of the two. But I believe it's when you're laying on the ground and like you're like, but I don't know. I'd have to check. We'll Google Shavasana and then we'll get right back to you. No. But I tell them, think about you're like opening the front of yourself to the sun. And you want
fancy
to like
buttons, maybe?
Yeah, fancy buttons.
A badge? No, that will get
that'll
one shoulder
shoulder.
forward.
Also, sometimes they need to look up
Yeah.
because sometimes we end up like this, looking at my pony's ears. Don't see anything, only pony's ears. Okay, look up. Another one that Peter Fisher gave to me the other day in the canter. I was cantering my horse too forward and not up enough, and he said, "Pretend you're riding a rainbow." Imagine a 65-year-old German man saying that to you. You know?
I love it.
Yeah, and so I had to ride him over, like, as if I was riding a rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I'm, like, looking, he's
So
like...
what happens on the way down?
I'm stoked. Ride the next one. I gotta ride the next one. Ride him up to the ceiling.
rainbow. Right.
Yeah, he said ride him right up to the ceiling. Feel like he's pushing you up to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't work if you didn't have an indoor. But, like you're riding a rainbow. And it's so fun. Peter gives me great stuff. My favorite
That
Peter...
would really help in the canter, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, you should have seen his canter. It was great. My favorite Peter quote that I use the most is, don't practice shitty transitions. And Peter says that to me almost every single time I see him.
But
And I love it.
sometimes, like, it's hard because sometimes I get them, and we've got a whole indoor arena, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking the whole arena, and we're just going boom, boom, boom. And there's that point where I get to, like, we've come back, we've relaxed, we've asked again, and sometimes, depending on the horse or the rider and what the issue is, sometimes I just have to say, I don't care what it looks like, get it done, get it happening, then we bring it back and we do it again. That's a shitty transition.
The first one's always shit. First one's always shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just practice better transitions,
I think that's more rider focus, because when that happens, I'm more getting the rider to focus on just making it happen because they're not being assertive enough.
No. And the only way that they're going to be able to practice a better transition, therefore not practicing a shitty one, is by becoming more assertive, understanding what they need to do to get the job done. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is get the job done.
Yeah. So that's hard because then they are technically practicing.
No,
their
because
shitty
the
transition.
first transitions are always going to be crap. And the only way that they're going to get better is by practicing improving that on what they've got, So saying yes to you and me, if we looked at that transition, you're like, oh, that wasn't great. But I mean, is the next one better? Good. Then you're practicing a better transition. Is the one after that one better? Is the one after that one better?
Fair enough, yeah.
Really, is
So
really
the progression of it more
Absolutely.
than...
Yeah. And from Peter's point of view, obviously at my stage of the game, when he looks at me, it's don't practice shitty transitions. It's don't teach horses to do. You're always teaching a horse something. If you're sitting on its back or you're standing near it, you're always teaching it either something good or something bad. And so he's just constantly reminding me, like, you do not practice something poorly. Even if you're going to go and...
How would you practice something poorly? No one's doing it intentionally.
No. But if I'm cantering around and I got some really great work and then I went, that was awesome. And then I just let him walk, long rein, and didn't practice the downward transitions to get him to the long rein walk.
Yeah.
That is a moment where I'm literally teaching him something bad.
Yeah.
I'm practicing something that wouldn't be beneficial for me. So yeah, that's definitely one. So the shoulders back. Don't get rigid. Don't feel like you're... Look up. Think like you're riding a rainbow up. Open the chest. Shavasana. Little Shavasana. I really need to Google that because
What about, oh my god, I just
Yeah.
thought of one. What about if you pretended like you were Madonna? Was it Madonna that had the
The
nipple
pointy-
tassels?
No, she had a pointy bra.
Oh, what
She-
about just a stripper?
I thought you were looking for stuff that was more PG, not like
Oh,
less PG.
Yeah, both. Well, I can't even explain a pointy bra to kids, so that was off the cards. But I just thought about it, like nipple tassels, like get them shaking.
You could like put a party hat on them. Just a singular party hat, like a chest unicorn.
Yeah.
Chest unicorn.
Still,
Chesticorn. I don't know.
someone's still gonna say that's like inappropriate.
Yeah, probably. Then, but this always causes the hollow back. The hollow
Yeah.
back can only be fixed by bringing the belly button in, and
So-
then the belly button in can only be fixed by bearing down.
I had the old school thought thing. You know how you used to get the whip down the back, keep it straight. Well, I used to when I was
Yeah.
younger. Like they put a whip down the back.
Like up your
Just-
pants,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just down.
down the back of your shirt.
Yeah, didn't
Okay.
work at all.
Okay, cool.
Like for some, just no feel. Like no
I
feel.
wouldn't be able to do anything except be really uncomfortable with that.
But you would at least feel when you weren't straight. Like you know the difference between something like
Touching different parts of your spine.
feeling pressure and then suddenly it's straight.
So I think that kind of comes to that kinetic learning versus visual learning
Yeah.
versus because you're much more of a visual learner, and I'm much more of a kinetic learner.
Yeah.
That's why you always say to me like, "Oh, it's really technical," or "That's really
Yeah.
this," and it's just because I'm really kinetic, and you're really visual, and that's why I offer things to you in a really visual way because I really enjoy learning different ways of teaching that give me auditory, visual, and kinesthetic and whatever. And it's more difficult for you to teach something that's outside of your,
Yeah.
zone. But I don't think the whip one would work for me. I don't think I'd like it. I don't think like I would want something down my shirt just so full. No thanks. Another thing that, excuse me, but just really pisses me off when I hear people say it is put your heels down.
I say that all the time. I'm yelling at people.
But it doesn't work.
It does sometimes. Like some kids that get it, you're like heels down, boom, straight down,
Yeah.
bang.
But then they're going to end up with too much weight in their stirrup.
Mm.
You know? Like they can only put the weight correctly into the stirrup when it comes from the top of their thigh. Otherwise, they're going to end up in a chair seat.
To be honest, a lot of the kids these days are still riding in all-purpose saddles, and it really doesn't matter because they're all gonna be sat in that armchair position. Their stirrups are all too short.
Yeah.
They're, so they need their heels down because their heels are constantly coming up.
Yep.
Because they're in that position. They're pointing their toes because they're shot out the back.
Yeah.
And they're reaching for the stirrups forward. And so that's why you're constantly at that argument about get your heels down because it's the only way we can get them back and underneath them. Like, otherwise they're forward like this.
Yeah, the forward toes.
They're all just...
But the bums need to be... If you scoot the bums back to the front of the saddle, because the APs tend to have the stirrup bar so close to the front, you've got to be sitting, like, so far forward in those saddles to make sure... Like, you saw me scooting forward and forward and forward on that little gray horse today, because I was in the AP and I could feel my legs getting out here, and I'm like, scoot, scoot, scoot. And I got to scoot my ass back to the front of the saddle. Otherwise, I end up way too far at the back because the stirrup bars
But
are
they
so far
can't
ahead.
feel that's how
No,
they're
they have
riding.
no
They're
idea.
going up and then all the way
All the way
back,
back.
and it just, and that's another thing. I just feel like we're fighting against something already. It's like when, people are showing up. Have you ever seen, the old school, like, I remember when they first came out and everyone wanted them. They're the longer rubber, like a gum boot, but it's like Dublin or whatever, and they're longer rubber ones.
Yeah.
And they were like the first version of the full boot.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were like,
Oh my
pro
God.
if you got the full boot,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah, you got
weren't
talls.
wearing-
Yeah.
and that was before the chaps and everything were a thing.
Yeah.
And I had someone show up in a pair of those and trying to this chick, even to save her life if she wanted to, not on a horse, there is no way she could flex her toes up to the
No.
ceiling.
No.
You just can't do it. So
No.
trying to ride in those things,
No.
it hurts along there. Like,
It
I
cuts
remember
into you,
that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, you know, and it was great because Mum's like, oh, we'll go, you know. But I was like, fighting against that is one thing. It's a similar kind of situation with saddles,
Yeah.
I feel. Like, we're already fighting against that bucket seat. That's what it is. The bucket, they called it a bucket seat. Like, you're sitting,
Too far back.
yeah, too far back, legs in front, a lot of room,
Yeah.
you know, trying to teach flat work in a jump saddle,
Mhm.
and they've got to have their stirrups up because they're shooting out, you know, like just little things like that. Or it makes such a difference. So trying to teach how, yeah, I mean, that's why I use heels down a lot, because otherwise they're the other way.
Yeah.
And I mean, not just flat,
No, like pointed in.
like we're pointing down.
Yeah.
So what do you use instead of heels down?
I just reposition their whole body again. I stop them. Reposition.
You
So,
wouldn't
like-
have a lesson.
I teach a lot of kids like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just have to stop, reposition, go again. Stop, reposition, go again. Stop, reposition, go again.
Mm.
And they'll end up with the
Do you
toes.
just lengthen the stirrups?
If the stirrups are too short, absolutely.
Because the other one, that's something I'm prevented from doing a lot, which annoys me sometimes. Like, I get told, you know, a lot of people used to riding really short. And I'm like, oh, you're
Too
a bit
bad.
short. They're like, no.
Too
But,
bad. This is not. That's not how we can ride. Like, tough knots. You've got to shorten your stirrups or lengthen them.
lengthen them. But
Yeah.
something that it was actually useful with one of my students is I'd hit kind of this bar where we weren't really getting anywhere, and I couldn't understand why, and the bottom part of the leg was moving around a lot.
Yeah.
And a tip that was given to me by another instructor was to just put the stirrups up really, really short.
Right.
Not like even past.
We'll be right back. Sorry. So that was. You made the stirrups really, really short.
Yeah. They were like, yeah, close the angle.
Yeah.
So we did. So they were much shorter, like not jockey, but like half track work. Like probably three
further
holes
than
up
cross
from
country.
3 holes up from cross country. Like bam, straight up.
Yeah.
So they were really struggling.
Yeah.
And we did half the lesson like that, and it was struggle town, but the rising became much neater.
Mm-hmm.
And then the minute we dropped the stirrups, legs were much stiller. And since then, we haven't had so much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used that a couple of times, and it seemed to have worked. When if you had it at jumping length, yeah, they were still moving, but bringing them up again, there was not enough room to move. Like, it just really closed the angle. They weren't able to move their bottom part of their leg at all.
I think that the problem is not the leg there.
Mm.
I think the problem is the connection of the seat. And the tough part is
It's because they were gripping with their knees.
knees.
That's what it was. And increasing the
take-
stirrup took the knees off, and so they weren't able to do that. And it was just forcing that disconnect.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me, that's what it was.
Yeah. And it's a really, really tough call choosing I've never done it. But I'm so much more inclined to take tack away from people.
Mm.
Just be like, yep, you don't get tack anymore. And then
See, I'd love to just say, well, we're not riding with a saddle today.
yeah, exactly.
But I need to ask permission first.
Yeah, exactly. And there's insurance that you guys my insurance lets me do that because I got myself covered for that.
Yeah, well, the insurance would with us as well, but it's just a matter of having 6 people do it all at the same
No.
time, you know.
Yeah,
so
it's-
that's more.
It's so much more difficult.
Yeah.
And it's a slower paced lesson, and you got to have the right riders patience wise. It's tougher in a riding school because people want to just get there and ride. This is the one time I ride a week, you know. When you're out in the field with people who own their own horses, and you go to their house and go, all right, gear comes off today.
And your eyes on. Like, if you're quick enough and you can see what's happening, you can
Yeah.
pretty much run toward the kid and catch it before it came off, even if it was on a lunge.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And sometimes too,
falling off isn't bad.
falling off is bad. Let him teach him how
Yeah.
to fall. Teach him how to fall, and then play with that as well. But the connection of the seat and the seat bones, I've been talking about the plugging in and unplugging. Did I tell you about the little boy? I was teaching him about you gotta plug your seat bones into your horse, then you unplug them just like you're plugging into a circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And he says to me, like Lego blocks. I was like, that's very cute, and I'm going to use that like Lego blocks. So that connection and deconnection of your seat, and I think a lot of the leg issues we have is because we've tucked up and are no longer connected. Either we're gripping with the bottom of our leg, we're gripping with the knee.
Because we rely on the stirrups a lot.
Yeah, and
I've got to take them off all the time.
yeah, and that's great. You know, I think that taking off stirrups is definitely the path that I would personally go rather than jacking them up, just because I've never used that tactic before.
We'd done no stirrup work and all that, and they were great with no stirrup work.
Yeah.
It was the minute we had the stirrups, the bottom half of the legs were moving around a lot.
Yeah.
And I tried different things, it wasn't working. It was just, try this.
Yeah,
it
try
works.
it, and it works.
And
That's
it
super
worked.
cool.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and that was when, like, because this whole thing, like I've explained before, has been a learning process for me, and it's often looking for things that I don't normally look for. Like, I never thought of looking for the grip with the knees, and it's only been the last month or so I've become conscious of that and can see it so much easier.
Yeah.
Same as diagonal. It took me so long to see the diagonal from the ground.
Yeah.
Like, so long, and even now, it still takes me a little while. Like, sometimes people can just look and like, oh, you're on the wrong diagonal, bam. But I need to look for a good, probably like,
Couple of
don't
strides.
tell any of my clients this, but probably like half arena. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out. Are they, and some horses are easier than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I'm just like,
Especially if they've got one white sock on the front, that helps. You know? I find the whole diagonal thing is quite easy for me. The most challenging one under saddle when I'm personally riding is figuring out which canter lead I'm on.
No way.
Yeah. So if I'm on, I know for
I can-
me too.
Yeah.
You know? Like I'm
can
such a
feel
kinetic.
it straight away. Like, feel, even before they've even taken off, I can feel what leg they're gonna land on straight away.
Maybe it's a pony thing or whatever, but I'm like, am I on the right one? This feels weird. What's up? Am I just not? Especially when it's the first time I've cantered on that horse. I'll be like, close my eyes, listen, you know.
I think actually you said it to me today. You're like, am I on the right lead?
Yeah.
And it was the first, because you were on the right rein or something. You're like, am I on
Am I
the
on the
right
right
lead?
lead?
It's like, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This feels weird as hell.
Yeah.
And it's always the first couple, and then I'll get it. But sometimes, sometimes I'll ride ponies and be like, ooh.
No, easy, like, just, I
Seeing
can't
it from
even
the ground.
remember a time, like, I don't need to look at that at all. I could feel blindfolded 100% which leg was canter. Trot, not so much. And I would love to do a blindfolded lesson.
Yeah.
Like, my, one of the head instructors where I teach had said she did it for months. Where she trained, she was training under someone, and he made her ride blindfolded for months. And he would just tell her, and she would just change the rein or whatever. And she's like, I can't see where I'm going. And he's like, well, you're gonna have to just trust
Work it
me.
out. Yeah.
Trust the horse, trust me, feel it.
Yeah.
You should be able to feel when your horse is hesitating toward a wall. I was like,
That's
interesting.
wild. You should do that on Jaff.
I would. Oh no, wait, no, I wouldn't. Jaff doesn't know where, well, he knows. He just doesn't care
He
where
doesn't
walls
give a
are.
hoot. You can do it on my horse, easy. He tells you exactly what you're coming up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Jaffa doesn't.
No.
Like, there's been
Huckleberry
times-
would neither. Huckleberry would be like, we're going to the gate.
Oh, well, you would know where the gate.
Yeah, you'd only know where the gate was.
You'd start feeling him going quick. No.
Sideways.
But like,
Yeah.
yeah, sitting on. You're right. Like feeling it. But how good would that be to teach you the
Yeah.
feel? You would really need to tune into your feel. That reminds me. I went to Dining in the Dark,
Yeah.
and that just like it totally reminded me of that, because like your sense, you become so awkward. Like trying to pour a glass of water into a cup
Mm-hmm.
just is insanely difficult.
No, you just put your finger in the cup.
Yeah, that's what they taught us, right? But
My
like, even just
grandmother
like
was blind, so
trying to
it's-
like feel it and like pouring and being nervous, like it's
Yeah.
everything else
Oh,
that
yeah.
you're not nervous when you can look or whatever, but you just become so awkward. So I can imagine riding blindfolded.
Maybe we should start with just one eye patch. Because then we'll lose the depth, but we won't, because you have no depth perception this way. See? Here, touch my hand. No, put your hand over your eye. Now touch my hand.
I don't understand this exercise.
Now touch my hand. See, it's not quite where you think it is.
Right?
Yeah, because your depth is not there anymore when
Okay.
you're blindfolded on one side.
I still think I could ride one eye.
Yes, you can, but it's not going to be as good. We could get some eye patches. Double eye patch.
Double eye patch. Oh
All right,
God,
I
how
think-
much fun would that be?
I think we've gone far enough. If you guys have any questions about anything, or you wanna hear us talk about anything, you just let us know in the comments down below, or you can hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or on Anchor. You can leave a voice message. That's always cool. We can actually put those into the things, and Thanks for listening, guys.
I just thought of like a hen's night thing.
No. Goodbye.
Bye.